Did you know a police officer can hand you a ticket weeks after your car accident, even if you never saw a cop that day? Most people think if they drive away from a crash without getting a ticket, they're in the clear. That belief has cost drivers thousands of dollars in fines and skyrocketed their insurance rates months later. Hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to reveal could save you from a surprise ticket, showing up in your mailbox that you never saw coming. Cops have way more time than you think, and I'm going to show you exactly how to protect yourself. Here's what you're about to learn in this video. The exact time limits police have to issue tickets after accidents in every state. The 3 situations where cops almost always write tickets days or weeks later. The exact words you should say at an accident scene that protect you from delayed tickets. And the massive mistake 95% of drivers make that basically invites a ticket to show up later. Let me show you exactly why this matters to you right now. Every single day people get into fender benders and think the nightmare is over when they exchange insurance info and drive away. No ambulance, no police report, no ticket handed to them. They think they got lucky. Then 2 weeks later, they check their mail and boom, a citation for failure to yield, or improper lane change, or following too closely. Now they're facing fines plus points on their license plus insurance rate hikes that can cost them thousands over the next few years. Here's the reality. Police departments across America have what's called delayed citation authority. This means they can investigate an accident after the fact using witness statements, dashcam footage, surveillance cameras, and physical evidence at the scene. Then they can mail you a ticket, or even show up at your door with one. Most people have no idea this is even possible until it happens to them. The first tactic you need to know is understanding your state's statute of limitations for traffic tickets. This is the legal time limit cops have to charge you with a traffic violation. Here's exactly what you need to understand. In most states, police have anywhere from 30 days to 2 years to issue a traffic citation after an accident. Some states give them even longer for certain offenses. California gives officers 1 year for most misdemeanor traffic violations. Texas allows 2 years. Florida gives officers a full year for non-criminal traffic infractions. New York cops have just 30 days for most violations, but up to 1 year for others. You look at the officer at the scene and you say this, "Officer, can you tell me if I'm going to receive any citations today?" Those exact words. Why does this matter? Because if the officer says no, or says the investigation is ongoing, you now have documentation that no citation was issued at the scene. Write down the officer's badge number and exact response. Bad way. Most drivers say nothing about tickets and just focus on insurance info. Then a ticket shows up 3 weeks later and they have zero defense because they never asked anything. Good way. Smart drivers ask directly about citations and document the response. Then if a delayed ticket arrives, they have evidence the officer made no determination at the scene, which can help challenge the ticket. This is 100% legal. You have every right to ask about your citation status. The case of Ohio versus Carter established that drivers have standing to question the timeliness of citations when charging decisions were delayed without cause. Have you ever gotten a ticket in the mail days or weeks after an accident? Drop a comment below and tell me what happened, because I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos and delayed citations are way more common than people realize. The second tactic is knowing when police are most likely to issue delayed tickets. There are 3 specific situations where cops almost always write tickets after the fact, rather than at the scene. First situation is when injuries appear later. Someone says they're fine at the scene, then 2 days later they go to the hospital for neck pain. Now the accident is classified differently. The other driver or their insurance company pushes the police to investigate further. And suddenly you're getting a ticket for careless driving that wasn't issued at the scene. Second situation is when there's conflicting stories. You say one thing, the other driver says something completely different. No witnesses, no clear evidence at the scene. The responding officer can't determine fault, so they file a report and forward it to the traffic division. An investigator reviews dashcam footage or nearby business surveillance cameras. 2 weeks later, they've determined you ran that stop sign, and here comes your ticket. Third situation is when the accident is serious, but there's no officer on scene. Minor fender benders in busy cities often don't get police response. You exchange info and leave. But if one driver later reports injuries or significant damage, the police open an investigation. They can contact you for a statement and then cite you based on that investigation. Here's exactly what you say if police contact you after an accident for a statement. "I'd like to consult with my attorney before providing any statement." Word for word. Memorize that line. Defense attorneys use this exact response in court. You are not required to provide a statement that could incriminate you. The Fifth Amendment protects you here. Watch what happens when you don't use this tactic. A driver gets a call from a detective 2 weeks after a minor accident. The detective says they just need to clarify a few details. The driver thinks cooperating will help. They admit they might have been going a little fast. They say maybe they didn't see the other car. Those statements go straight into the report. A ticket for speeding and failure to yield arrives 3 days later. The driver basically wrote their own ticket. Watch what happens when you do use this tactic. Same situation. Driver gets the call. They politely say they'd like to consult with an attorney first. The detective has to build a case without the driver's admissions. Much harder. Many times, these cases get dropped because there's not enough evidence without a statement. Listen closely, because this is critical. Police can absolutely use your own words against you in traffic citations. The case of Berkmer versus McCarty from the Supreme Court made clear that while you have some Miranda-style protections during traffic stops, post-accident investigations are different territory. Anything you say voluntarily can be used. So don't say anything. Most people already clicked away from this video. If you're still here, you're in the top 10% who actually take protecting themselves seriously. Drop a comment saying, "I'm still here, so I know you're one of the smart ones." The third tactic is documenting everything at the scene to defend against delayed tickets. This is your insurance policy against a ticket showing up weeks later. Here's exactly what you need to do. Take photos and videos of everything, both vehicles from multiple angles, skid marks on the road, traffic signs and signals, weather conditions, timestamp everything. Get the other driver's statement on video if they'll give it. Get witness contact information. And here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Get footage of your own speedometer and dashboard if your car has a readout showing your speed was normal. You look at any witnesses and say this: "Would you be willing to give me your contact information in case there are questions about what happened?" Those exact 14 words. Most witnesses will say yes right after an accident when everything is fresh. Wait 2 weeks and good luck finding them. Here's the reality about delayed tickets. Police officers writing them weren't at the scene. They're relying on reports, evidence, and statements gathered after the fact. If you have your own comprehensive documentation, you can challenge their version of events. Your photos showing a faded stop sign could contradict their claim you blew through a clear stop. Your witness statements could challenge the other driver's story. Bad way. Most drivers take maybe 2 photos of the damage and leave the scene with nothing else. Weeks later, when a ticket arrives, they have 0 evidence to fight it. Good way. Smart drivers spend 10 extra minutes documenting everything. They have time-stamped photos, weather documentation, and witness contacts. When a delayed ticket shows up, they have ammunition to fight it or get it dismissed. This is 100% legal. You have every right to document a public incident you're involved in. Former police officers have confirmed this works. Many delayed citation cases fall apart when the driver shows up with comprehensive scene documentation that contradicts the investigator's conclusions. The fourth tactic is understanding when police legally cannot issue delayed tickets. There are specific situations where the law is on your side. Here's exactly what you need to know. If an officer responded to your accident scene, conducted an investigation, and chose not to issue a ticket, that same officer generally cannot come back later and decide to cite you. This falls under what's called the investigation complete doctrine in many states. Once an officer closes their investigation at the scene, reopening it faces serious legal challenges. You look at the officer at the scene and you say this: "Officer, is your investigation of this accident complete?" Those exact 8 words. If they say yes, you have powerful protection against delayed citations from that officer. Write down their response with the time, date, and badge number. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection against delayed tickets from officers who responded to your scene. The case of State versus Henderson established that when an officer completes an on-scene investigation and declines to cite a driver, fundamental fairness, most principles limit their ability to reverse that decision weeks later. However, and this is critical, a different officer or an accident reconstruction team can often still investigate separately. This is most common in serious injury accidents or cases where new evidence emerges. So this tactic protects you from the responding officer, but not necessarily from a later investigation by someone else. Let me give you the legal framework that backs all of this up. 3 major court cases. Protect your rights here. First is Berkmer versus McCarty from 1984. This Supreme Court case established that traffic stops are seizures under the Fourth Amendment. In plain English, this means police have to follow rules even in traffic situations. They can't just do whatever they want. This case is why you have the right to ask questions and get answers about your citation status. Second is Ohio versus Carter from state court. This case established that drivers can challenge delayed citations when there's no legitimate reason for the delay. In simple terms, if cops wait weeks to ticket you just because they can and not because they needed more time to investigate, you can fight that ticket on fairness grounds. Third is State versus Henderson. This case created the investigation complete doctrine I mentioned earlier. In plain terms, once a cop finishes investigating your accident at the scene and decides not to ticket you, they generally can't change their mind weeks later without new evidence. These 3 cases work together to protect you. They're the foundation for everything I've taught you today. Coming next week, I'm dropping a video about what to say when cops ask who was driving after an accident. Subscribe right now because that video could save you from taking the blame for someone else's mistake. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Now let me show you how all these tactics work together in a real scenario. Picture this. You're driving home from work. Someone rear ends you at a stoplight. No injuries, minor damage. You both pull over. Here's the wrong way. The way 90% of drivers handle this. You panic a little, exchange insurance info, take 2 quick photos of the damage. The other driver says sorry and admits they were looking at their phone. No cops come because it's a minor accident in a busy area. You drive home thinking it's over. 2 weeks later, the other driver has hired an attorney. They're claiming you stopped short. Police call you for a statement. You try to explain what happened and accidentally say something like, well, maybe I did slow down suddenly. A ticket for improper stop arrives 3 days later. Your insurance rates go up. The other driver's lawsuit now has your citation as evidence you were at fault. Here's the right way using everything I've taught you. Same accident. You stay calm. You document everything with photos and video. You get the other driver's admission on camera. You ask nearby witnesses for contact information. When police call 2 weeks later, you say those magic words. I'd like to consult with my attorney before providing any statement. The investigator has nothing to work with except conflicting stories. Your documentation shows the other driver was clearly at fault. No ticket is issued. When their attorney tries to sue, you've got video evidence that destroys their case. Same accident. Completely different outcomes. The only difference is knowledge. Let me give you a quick recap of everything you learned. First, you now know the statute of limitations for traffic tickets in most states, and why you should always ask officers about your citation status at the scene. Second, you understand the 3 situations where delayed tickets are most common and why you should never give police statements without consulting an attorney. Third, you know how to document accident scenes properly to defend against tickets that come weeks later. Fourth, you understand when police legally cannot issue delayed tickets and the exact question that protects you. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings and state case law. You now have more knowledge about delayed citations than most attorneys who don't specialize in traffic law. Hit subscribe so you catch that video next week about what to say when cops ask who was driving. Smash that like button if this just saved you from a surprise ticket showing up in your mailbox. And drop a comment telling me which tactic shocked you the most because I read every single comment. And I want to know what's helping you. Stay safe out there.